welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video and welcome back to day 2 of 12 Days of Bookmas. In today's video, we are going to be reacting to a year's worth of TBRs. I did this video last year and I actually got this video idea from ThisStoryAintOver, so I will leave both her channel as well as both videos that she's done for 2020 and 2021 in the description box below. Feel free to go check her out, go check out her videos. And today I'm just, like I said, going to be reacting to a full year's worth of TBR videos to look back on all of the books that I put on my TBRs, see if I've read them, what books I haven't, and if I haven't read them, if I'm still interested in reading them, or if it's time for me to let them go. I used this situation last year to kind of let go of some of the books that I had put on several TBRs and just really had no interest in reading, and I think it's about time that I do that once again. I don't really know how well I did over this last year. I haven't thought back too much on my TBRs and whether or not I succeeded in a lot of them. I've just been taking the year as it comes, so this will be a nice little throwback to all of those fun TBR bingo videos, as well as a nice look back on all of the books that I was able to complete. Hopefully some of these are more successful than others. Hopefully all of them are successful, but I doubt what's actually going to be the case. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. It's going to be a long video, so buckle your seatbelts, get a snack, get a tea, and let's do this. Okay, we are kicking this off with December of 2020's TBR, because in my last video where I did this in, I also filmed it in December, so I did not go over my December TBR. So this is going to be an actual year's worth of TBR, since we are starting from December to November, so there'll be a full 12 months. So let's go ahead and get into it. I am actually quite nervous. Okay, I've added a little list on here so I can keep track of the books that I have not read and still want to read, and the books that I am giving up on as of now, and hopefully these books that I put on this list will get read in 2022. We're gonna skip right past the intro and all of that fun stuff. I'm really hoping that 2020 is going to be... That was really loud, honestly. Ooh, that stack. Holy crap, baloli. Okay, so the first book that we actually have here is Defiance by CJ Redwine. I've actually already unhauled that one. That was a book that I finally decided I just don't want to read this. It was on my These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 Months video, and I just never got around to wanting to ever pick it up, so that one has left my life. All right, next up we have a one-word title, so let's see what it is. All right, it is Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. Neal Shusterman is, I don't know, he's a hard one for me because I loved the first book in the Scythe series. However, I did not love book 2. I gave it a 3-star. It was okay. It just wasn't as good as book 1. So I still have not read book 2, but I still want to. So I don't know if I'm going to put The Toll on here because I technically didn't ever add it onto a TBR, but I was disappointed by this one for sure. Up next, we have Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare, and I did read this one, so we're off to a really good start so far. Okay, up next, we have Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I did not read this one in December, but I did read it, so I will take that as a win for me. Okay, wow. Well, next one we have is A Curse of Dark and Lonely. I didn't realize that I only read this one in December of last year because I have officially now finished that trilogy. That one is done and dusted, so yes, of course, I have read this one. Up next, we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I did read this one in December and loved it. It was on my best books of 2020 list. Definitely a good one. Highly recommend. All right, the next one up was actually a random number generator, and this was Reunion of Rivals. This is by Reese Ryan. The picture's kind of blurry on here, but this is another one that I actually also unhauled. This is proving to be not as exciting as I wanted it to be just yet, because there's not a single book that I have not read and or have not unhauled. But yes, I did unhaul this one. It is not a book that I wanted to read. Up next, we have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Again, another one that I have read and loved. Okay, up next is another one that I have read. Man, I am on a roll here and I like it. This is Lover Revealed by J.R. Ward. This is book 4 or 5 in this series. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I did read this one and I have enjoyed it. I do own a lot of the books in the series and I will definitely continue on with that series. I haven't picked up another book since I read this one. I think it's been quite a little while, but I am excited to get back into that series. I love it so much. Highly recommend if you're looking for a good adult paranormal vampire romance series. Oh, okay. We have found one that I have not read. The Diviners by Libba Bray. This was on so many lists of last year. This was also on a list for this year. Did I read it? No, I did not. I do still want to read it, so I will add this to my list of books that I do want to read in 2022. So weird to say that, by the way. I'm hoping that I can finally get around to reading it because it has been on my TBR for so long, and it's definitely been a book that I want to read for so long, and I have just been slacking on it. Like, somebody please hype me up in the comment and tell me that I absolutely need to read this one, please. Up next, we have Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer, another one that I have read and loved. That is the second book in the series. I have now since completed that series, so good on me. Up next, we have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, another one that I, have read and did enjoy this one. It's another 5-star. I don't know if it ended up in my favorites of last year, but definitely a really good book. Dang, I'm on a roll. Heartstopper Volume 3. This is the one I have here, and I have read that one. I have also completed this entire series, so I'm just waiting on Volume 5. Patiently awaiting. And the next one that we have here is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, and although I have not continued on with the rest of that series, I did read Crown of Midnight. So that is another one on this TBR that is read and taken care of, and that is actually the last book on this TBR. So of the, I think it was 13 books that I had on this TBR, I did not read one, and I unhauled 2 of them. So not too damn bad, I will definitely say that. Okay, I thought that was the last one, but it's not. I actually have a few more rolls to go. My bad. But the next one we have is Milk and Honey by Ruby Carr. I did read this one and really enjoyed it. Okay, up next we have The Deceivers by Kristen Simmons. This was the group book for Mary Bookmas last year, and of course I did read it, really enjoyed it. Still have not finished out that series yet, but I did read it and enjoy it. Can we just talk about this stack? What the fuck? That is a lot of books, and I read most of them, so I will take it. That is a pat on the back for me. All right, we are now moving on to January's TBR, and ooh, I'm a bit nervous for this one because I think there was several on this TBR that I did not get around to finishing. So let's hope that I did some good stuff here. Okay, the first one that we have here is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Shauna McGuire, and I did read this one. I have now read 5 of the 6 books in the series, so if these come up during the rest of the TBRs, then yes, I have read most of them. Up next, we have 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and yes, I did read this one and really enjoyed that first book in the series. I have not read the sequel though, and that will be coming up on this TBR. I already know it. Up next, we have It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and y'all already know I read that one and absolutely loved this book. So yes, done, dusted. This is, you know, not as exciting as I wanted to put myself on blast. I wanted to be like, bitch, get it together, but it's really not happening, is it? We had a pet pick, which I didn't show the footage, but I love every time Bailey is on camera, but The Fifth Wave by Ricky Yancey. I did read this one. Didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, didn't continue on with the series, but I did read it. Okay, up next we have Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, and I did try to read this one, and I actually DNF'd that one. Unfortunately, it wasn't for me, it didn't work for me, so I have already unhauled that one, so I will add that to my list of books that I have already unhauled. This list is far greater than any other list here so far, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Up next, we have God's Grave by Jay Kristoff, again, another one that I read and really enjoyed. I still need to read the last book in the series, which is Dark Dawn. I am really excited to get around to it. Hopefully I can get around to it soon, but I'm very excited for it. Up next, we have Clockwork Princess. We are bringing that trilogy to an end, and I did read this one, really enjoyed it. Love this trilogy as a whole. I need to get more into Cassandra Clare's works because that's the only trilogy that I have read, but I have read this one, so I will take it as a win. Up next, we have a nonfiction. That's the first time we've seen that on a TBR recently, and that is Educated by Tara Westover. I did read this one, really enjoyed this memoir. I think it was a fantastically put together memoir. I really love the audiobook narration of this as well. Highly recommend this one. Up next, we have Conceal Don't Feel by Jen Kalanita. Again, read this one, really enjoyed it. I don't tend to keep my Disney Twisted Tales after I read them, so I haven't already unhauled this one, but I did enjoy it nonetheless. Okay, up next, we actually had a script pick, which I have now taken that one out because I don't tend to actually follow through with those ones, but the thing I have here is The Return of the Thief. I don't know who, Megan Wayland Turner, did I actually keep that? No, oh, that's right. That was a sequel to a book that I had not read, so I picked Black Girl Unlimited instead, and I actually DNF'd that one as well. So that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Up next, we have Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Did I read this one in this month? Absolutely not. Did I finally get around to reading it and enjoying it though? Yes, I did. So I'm going to count it as done and dusted, but it definitely did not get read in January. The next one that we have here is The Kissing Game by Maria Hart. This was on my TBR for being the lowest rated book on my TBR at the time, and I can agree that it was terrible. I did read the whole thing all the way through, and I highly regret it, but it is what it is. And we're finishing out this trilogy with Supernova by Marissa Meyer, the third and final book in the series. I did read it, did love it. It's one of my favorite sci-fi series, fantasy series, whatever you want to call it, of all time. Highly recommend that one. Then I picked Lily Reinhardt's Swimming Lessons. This poetry collection that I really enjoyed. I did read it. I still own it, actually. I do want to give it a reread because I think that it was very impactful and very beautiful, but I have not picked it up in a long time, but I did read it for that TBR. Up next, we have House of Imperial. This is by Jamin Eve. This is actually a reread for me for this book. I have since reread the entire series, so again, every time that one comes up, I'm just going to breeze on past it. I did read it, though. And then I didn't actually add House of Imperial into the TBR, but the one that I did put on there was Les Mis by Victor Hugo. And yeah, I DNF'd that one and unhauled it. I gave it a whole 26 pages, and I was like, you know what? Never mind. That is another TBR, done and dusted. These stacks, though, they are really wild, honestly. Like, who do I think I am? I don't know, but actually, I'm not doing too bad. I still only have one that I haven't read, so I'll take it. All right, we're into our February TBR, the month of love. Let's see how I did. Did I love this month? I don't know. That was a terrible joke. I'm so sorry. First one that we have is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is one of my favorite middle grades of all time, so yes, 100% I did read this. I don't think I read it in February, though. I'm gonna be real honest. I don't think I did, but I did read it nonetheless, so let's go ahead and move on. All right, finally one that I can say that I have not read. Not that I'm excited about this, but it's nice to have some variety in this video, and that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I have still only gotten 100 pages into this one, and I never picked it back up. Do I want to read it? Absolutely. I would love to read the entire Mistborn trilogy, so I will definitely add this onto my list of books that I would love to get to in 2022, because that was on my list for this year, and I never got back around to it, unfortunately. So let's cross our fingers and hope that I can get around to it in 2022. All right, we have another one, A Universe of Wishes by, it's an anthology by a whole bunch of different authors. It's edited by Daniel Clayton. Again, I got halfway through this one and then never picked it back up again. I think I had decided that anthologies are not really my style. I have had zero interest in picking this one back up since I put it down. So maybe that's gonna be the first one that goes on to the books that I'm giving up on. I wanted to love this, and I think that some of the stories were good and some of them really like kind of lost me there. And I think that's the reason why I don't tend to want to pick them up, is because I never feel fully invested in the stories. So I think that I'm actually going to unhaul this one, unfortunately. I just don't think this one is going to be something that I end up loving in the end anyways. So I think I can spare myself, I can't spell, hold on. Spare myself the time and energy put into this one and just let it go. I am very sad though, because that is an OwlCrate exclusive edition that is absolutely beautiful, but you know, can't love them all. Finally, we have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Again, I don't think I read it in this month, but I did finally read it. I finally read it. It was great. One of my favorite fantasy series of all time. I cannot wait to read book 3. The next one up is another script pick, and that was I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. No, that's not right. The Summer of Everything by Julianne Winters. I never picked it up. I never want to pick it up. That's kind of harsh, but I only put it on there because script choice of the day told me to, but I don't think it's something that I'm actually interested in, so I'm going to let this one go. Up next, we have One to Watch by Kate Stayman London, and I read this one. I didn't enjoy it. I already unhauled it, but I did read it. Up next, we have Heart So Fierce and Broken. Like I said, I have completed this trilogy, so of course I did read it. Whew, okay, this next one up is Alessia in Atlantis. This one is really, really tough for me because I put on this TBR, I got about 20-ish pages in, put it down, and then it was on my pile of shame for months. About 3 months ago, I picked it back up, and I got about halfway through, and I'm just not engaged in the story. However, I feel terrible because this book was sent to me paid for review to finish it and read it, but I'm just not enjoying my time with it. So I have not decided whether or not I want to give up on this one or if I want to push through and read it. I think that if I make it to the end, I could enjoy it. It's just I'm having trouble like actually getting through the writing style. This is really hard for me. This is really, really hard for me. I don't know what I want to do. I think I'm going to add it back onto my books I still want to read because I do want to give it another try because I think it has potential for me to really enjoy it. And I want to support an indie author as much as I can. So I'm going to give it another go. But if I don't get through it on my 3rd attempt, then I will let it go. Up next, we have The Magnolia Story by Chip and Joanna Gaines. I did read this one and loved it. Up next, we have Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. Again, another one that I read and really, really enjoyed. It definitely is an interesting take on racism and all the things that come with white privilege, which I really enjoyed. It's a great book if you're looking for something like that. Up next is Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. Again, I didn't read this book in this month, but I did read it. Wasn't my favorite. I ended up unhauling it, but I'm glad that I read it. Up next is The Running Dream. This is by Wendelin Van Dranen. I actually buddy read this one with my friend Gabriel, so I did get this one done for sure. Up next, we have Saga Volume 2 or 3. I can't remember which one that is. I have read it. It's been read, done and dusted. We're all good to go there. Okay, we have up next is The Bone Witch by Ranger Pecco. I did try and start this one, but I didn't actually get around to finishing it. I was listening to the audiobook solely and not reading along with the physical book, and I was having a hard time with it. And once I picked it up, I got about like 20-ish pages in, put it down because I was hoping to get around to reading alongside it physically, and then never got around to do that. So I do still own it. I do own now all 3 of the audiobooks, so I definitely want to give this another go. So I will definitely put this one on my list of books I want to read next year. I've actually heard really good things about that series, so let me know if you've read it. I would love to hear your thoughts. That is all for that TBR. We are moving on to March, so let's see how I did. Okay, the first one that we're looking at for the month of March is All the Stars and Teeth by Tomi Adeyemi. I did read this one. I actually read both books in the duology, so I'm glad that I got that one finished. I didn't end up loving the series, but I think that it was an interesting nautical type fantasy. Up next, we have The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, another one that I read and really enjoyed. I have not moved on to book 2 yet in this series, but I am really excited to get around to it eventually, and I did really enjoy book 1. Next up is a list of semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Kristen Sutherland. Oh man, that one was rough. I did read this one. This one was the group book from Spring Into Reading-a-thon, so definitely one that I read and really, really enjoyed. Up next was my reread of Crescent City. Y'all already know, I reread it, and I loved it. The next one that we have here is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I did read this one. I didn't love the first book, but I did read it. That was my TBR. Are you kidding me? That was the shortest TBR I've seen from me ever. Oh my gosh. If I didn't pass that TBR, I would have literally been so angry. You can tell that this wig is brand new because it looks so good. Oh, sweet lord. First one that we have is At Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I did read that one and loved it. It is still my favorite contemporary romance series of all time. Love it. I also mentioned A Vow So Bold and Deadly on this TBR. I didn't end up getting around to that one in this month, but of course, like I said, I did read it, so let's move on past. Oh, up next we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. This was the month that I binged that entire series. Oh my gosh, I read the first book and I was like, listen, I can do nothing else but read this. All month. It was great. I finished it, loved the series so much. You guys know I'm a stan, so yeah, loved it. Up next we have This Train Is Being Held. This is by Esme Williams is what her name was. And I read it, enjoyed it. It was actually a gift from Mel that I read it, but now I have unhauled it because I don't see myself rereading it again, but it was okay. Next up, we have The Maze Runner by James Dashner. Again, another one that I read, and I enjoyed it. I will definitely be moving on with the series. I don't love the author, but I own these and I bought them secondhand, so I'm going to read them at some point. The next one that we have here is The Black Kids by Christina Reed. I can never pronounce the middle name, but I read this one. It was a big disappointment for me, unfortunately, but I read it and it got done. We actually have an audiobook on this TBR, and I picked All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. I love this memoir. I just recently mentioned it in my favorite audiobooks of 2021. So yeah, loved it. So good. Definitely recommend it. Then we had The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and I did read this one, really enjoyed it. I'm excited for book 2. Hopefully we get to see that sequel soon. All right, that's another short TBR, not too dang bad, and I read every single one of those, so yay me. All right, we are completing that duology with All the Tides of Fate by Adeline Grace. Again, like I said, I have read this one. We are now moving on to May, by the way. Then we have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I did read this one. I really enjoyed it, actually. This was a John Green book that thoroughly surprised me, so I'm super glad that I read it. Ooh, a controversial topic. Next up, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I did try to read this book this month. Well, in this month, not this month. And I gave up on it during that session. At about 100 pages in, I was not vibing with the story. I wasn't vibing with the writing style. I wasn't having a great time reading experience-wise, unfortunately. Do I want to try to continue on with the series, or do I want to let it go? Good question. Ooh, this one kind of hurts me, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm gonna let it go. I don't think that I ever want to pick this back up again. A lot of my friends as well have tried to read this and really didn't enjoy it. And also DNF'd it, so I think that I'm going to trust their reviews on this, and I'm not going to torture myself and put myself through reading this book when I wasn't enjoying my first reading experience, so I'm going to let that one go. Ooh, it hurts, but it has to happen. The next one that we have is The Death of Vivek Oji by Kweki Emezi. This is one of the authors that I absolutely adore. I read Pet by Kweki Emezi last year and I loved it, but I have not read anything else by this author just yet, which totally hurts my heart. But I don't know if The Death of Vivek Oji is the book for me. I've had it on a couple different TBRs and I just have not wanted to pick it up. Each time I look at it, I'm just like, I have zero want or desire to pick it up. This one hurts. Again, this one really hurts because I don't know what I want to do. But for this one, I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to let it go, and if I ever want to pick it back up again, I can listen to the audiobook. Oh, it hurts my soul. It hurts my soul so much. Okay, I can do this. I don't need it. And I don't tend to keep thriller type books anyways. If you guys see this video and you think that if I'm giving up on something and you think that I totally just need to read it, convince me. I will probably listen to you. I'm not gonna lie, this one hurts. Up next, we have A Whisper in the Dark by Jessie Elliott and KJ Sutton. I started this book, I think, this month. Maybe that's not this month. Anyways, I DNF'd it. I didn't want to read it anymore. I got 75% of the way in. That's a lot of book to read, and I was like, you know what? No more. I'm over it. Please hold while I pay myself. Castle Royale. This is by James and Eve, part of that series that I was rereading. I did read it. Up next, we have Nubia. This is by L.L. McKinney and Robin Smith. This is a DC comic about a female black superhero, which we love to see it. This was actually gifted to me from Sterling, and I did read it, and I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it if you're looking for a good, diverse, LGBTQI+, graphic novel. It was amazing. Up next, we have another Sarah J. Maas book of Court of Silver Flames. Yes, I read it, and I loved it. It's back! And Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. I read it. Oh. Yeah, I read this. I hated it. Let's move on. All right, that's the end of this TBR. Let's move on to June. We are almost there, you guys. If you're still here, I love you. Oh, I'm wearing the same shirt.
I did not have to be the last day.
We love to see it. Oh no, that was 2 TBRs ago, but still. Ooh, this was a giveaway. We love to see it. We love to see it. First one that we have here is Felix Ever After by Casey Calendar. I did read this one and thoroughly enjoyed it. Up next, we have The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I don't read a lot of horror. I just don't. And so yes, it was on this TBR. Did I read it? No. Do I want to read it though? Good question. I don't think I do. I just don't gravitate towards thrillers or horror, but if I were to pick one of the two, I would definitely pick a thriller over a horror. So I just don't think that I'm going to read this one. So I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna give up on it. Sorry, Stephen Graham Jones, I've heard really good things about you, but you're just not for me, okay? Okay, I'm holding both of these books up because I was flipping a coin for this particular pick. I did end up getting Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I did read it and really loved it. But since Ugly Love is also in the picture, we'll just talk about it. Have I read this one yet? No. Do I want to read it? Yes, so I'm just going to add it to my list because it's been on my list for quite a while and I really need to read it. Apparently, I don't know how to type either. I cannot type and talk at the same time. Maybe that's my problem. Saga is back, the same volume, but I did read it. Wow, I'm really slipping here. All right, up next we have I Hope You Get This Message and The Love Curses of Melody McIntyre. I did end up trying to read the I Hope You Get This Message, and I DNF'd it about halfway through. Didn't love it, so I did unhaul that one. And the next one that we have on there is The Love Curse of Melody McIntyre. This is an LGBTQI+ book that I am really interested in still reading, so I will definitely keep this one on my list. Up next, we have A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth, and I love this book. I did read it, and it was so good. Yes, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Read it, loved it, so amazing. Up next, we have Chemical Hearts by Crystal Sutherland. I read this one, and unfortunately, I didn't love it, but I did read it. Up next, we have Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. This is on my December TBR. I was supposed to read it, obviously, during this month. I think I got about 100 pages in, and then never picked it back up again, unfortunately. But I am really excited to give it a go once again. Hopefully, I can actually finish it this time. We shall see. Up next, we have The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta, and I did read this one. Really loved it. It was a really good LGBTQI+ book written in verse. This wasn't a book that I kept on my shelves because I think that it's not something that I would reread, but I did really enjoy it nonetheless. Up next, we have Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley. This is an Owl Crate exclusive edition that I really, really loved. I'm really excited to read this author's sophomore novel because the next book that she is writing is coming out next year, and it's also a sapphic romance, so hopefully I enjoy that one. Then we have You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I did read this one. This was June, which is Pride Month, so I read all of the LGBTQI+ books that I had on this list that I wanted to get to. I did read them, so that's really good. Another very large TBR stack, but not too bad. I will say that. All right, I moved into my birthday month, so let's see how I did. Up first, I picked Credence by Penelope Douglas. I did read this one. Not my favorite PD, but definitely enjoyed it. The one that I have here, it's a little blurry, but this was a random number generator, and I picked House Rules by Jodi Picoult. I did read this one, but after reading House Rules, I decided that I don't want to read a ton more of Jodi Picoult. I only have one book left on my shelves by her, so we'll see when I get around to that one. Then we have Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer. I did read this one. I did enjoy it. Again, it's not my favorite of Marissa Meyer's work. I think that she thrives more in a fantasy setting, but I still really enjoyed it. Up next, we have A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. I have not read this one yet, and I still want to. I think that it could be a really cute summer read. A Cuban Girl's Guide. We'll just put that. That's too much. That's too many words. Like I said, it could be a really cute summer read that I did want to read for summertime reads, but just didn't get around to reading it, unfortunately. But if you guys have read this one, let me know. I've heard some mixed reviews, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. Can we just talk about my nails? They're amazing. Okay, next up we have Cricket Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, and unfortunately, I did not read this one. Very sad, but I do still really want to read it. I had this high on my priority list for 2022, just because I really want to finish out that duology, but I've kind of been going back and forth because I wanted to read the rest of the Shadow and Bone trilogy before I moved back to Cricket Kingdom, but I have not done either one, so it is what it is. Then we have Five Total Strangers. I don't remember the author of this, but I read it. I didn't enjoy it. It is what it is. Then we have My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. I have already unhauled this book. I DNF'd it at about 25% of the way through. I could not do it anymore. Then we had One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and I did read this one and really enjoyed it. I'm very excited for Casey McQuiston's third book that's coming out next year. It's supposed to be a YA sapphic novel, which I'm really excited for. Oh, then we have The Serpent King by Jeff Zettner. This was the group book for Summertime Reads, and I read this one and loved it. Then we had People Meet on Vacation. I did not read this one in July. I read it in August when I went on vacation, but I did read this one and loved it. Then we have The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I did not read this one this month or this year at all. It's a book that I really, really want to read, but is one that I'm also terrified of because of the fact that it is a high adult fantasy, which I don't read a ton of, but I've heard really good things, so this will definitely go on my list for next year. I think I'm actually supposed to be buddy reading this with a friend, so hopefully we can do that in 2022. Cross our fingers, we shall see. What My Mother and I Don't Talk About. This is an anthology that I did read. Again, didn't love it. Liked some of the stories, didn't like others, but I did read it. And there's the third book. Like I said, I did read it. Then we have the second book in the Girls of Storm and Shadow series. It was originally supposed to be a duology, got stretched to a series. I did read book 2. I didn't love book 2, but I'm hoping that book 3 will bring it back around. Then we have Saga Volume 3, I believe. I believe this one is Saga Volume 3 because I own 1 through 4. I did read this one. I just have number 4 left that I own that I still need to read. But yes, I did read this. Another large TBR. Back at it again. Okay, we are now into August. We are almost there, I promise. Amari and the Night Brothers. I, of course, like I said, already read this one. It was really good. Then we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. I did read this one. I actually read this one on vacation and have very fond memories of it. It's a fantastic romantic suspense. Highly recommend. Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I did read this one. I was very disappointed by book 2, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I did read this one. Then we have In an Absent Dream by Shauna Maguire. Like I said, yes, I have read most of the books in the series, so let's move on. Up next, we have A Little Life by Hanya Yagahara. I was supposed to do a whole vlog for this. I actually have footage from a whole vlog that is sitting on my iPad ready to be edited. That's not done yet, but because I never finished the book, I DNF'd it at, DNF for now at about, I would say 200 pages in. Oh, this is a tough one too, because I really don't know what I want. I haven't been convinced to pick it back up yet. I really haven't, and I think that it's just too sad. But I want to know what the sadness is about, but I've heard so many people say that the sadness isn't worth it, so I don't know what I'm doing. In reality, I don't think I'm ever going to get back around to it. Oh, I'm sorry for anyone that was really excited to hear my thoughts. I'm sorry, but I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can. So I'm going to unhaul it. Then we have Hate by Tate James. This is the first book in the Madison Kate series. This is the start of my reread. Yes, I have read the books I put on this TBR, but it's a reread for me, so I'm not going to count these. Look at that short TBR. Never to be seen again. All right, we moved on to September's TBR. The first book that we have on here is Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. I did read this one. I was very disappointed by book 2. I'm hoping that book 3 brings it in for me, because if it doesn't, I'm going to riot. Okay, thanks. Alyssa in Atlantis is back. I don't want to talk about it. Then we have Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzalez. This was during the Fall Into Reading-a-thon. I did read this one and really, really loved it. Skyward is back, and this is the month that I actually read it and really, really loved it. Then we have the 9th book in the Series of Unfortunate Events series. I did read this one, but this is the time that I actually realized that I don't want to read the rest of the series, so I have unhauled the remainder of those books, but I did read this one. Liar is back. Yes, I read it. Oh, then we have Wolf Song by TJ Klune, one of my favorite books of all time. I'm currently reading this series with a group of friends, and we are loving it. I just finished book 2, and oh my god, I loved it so much. Then we have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. This is by Ocean Vuong. I did read this one. I didn't love it, but I read it. Then we moved on to Bookopoly. I don't know if I want to include these ones, but for your sake, I will. The first one we had was Neon Gods. I did read it and enjoyed it. Then we had Blood and Honey. Like I said, I already read it. The One, I read that one. Ember of Night. I have not read Ember of Night, but I still really want to. This was a book that I picked up on a whim at Target. I'd never heard anybody talk about it, but it does sound really good. So I'm going to continue to put that on a list and hope that I can get around to it at some point. Then we have Prince and the Dressmaker. Great graphic novel, did read it and really enjoyed it. Oh my god. This book has been on so many TBRs. The Inheritance Games is currently on my December TBR, so stay tuned. Hopefully I will enjoy it, but of course I will put it on my list. Then we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and I love this book so much. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that Bookopoly made me read this because it was amazing. Then we have Heron by Mindy McGinnis. If you're gonna read this, read the trigger warnings, but it was a really good book. Then we have Crown of Feathers by Nikki Palpretto. Again, a book that I'm really excited to read and I definitely want to continue to have on my radar. I've heard really, really good things about this one. And if you read this one, let me know. Like I said, I've heard really good things, but I would love to hear some more thoughts on this one. And the last book that's on this TBR is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Do I want to read it? I don't know. I bought it. I paid full price for this book too. I bought it on a whim thinking, yeah, I'm totally gonna read that. And so many of you guys have said you need to read it. It's so good. But then many of you have been like, you're not gonna like it. Just don't read it. It's fine. So I don't know who to believe. What do I do? Am I ever gonna read it? I don't know. I don't think I am. I'm gonna let it go. Oh God, it hurts. It really, I don't know why I do this to myself because it really hurts my soul. Okay, only 2 more TBRs to go, you guys. We got this. Oh my God, I look fantastic. I don't say that often, but holy shit. The first one that we have here is The Marionettes by Katie Wismer. I love this book. It was so well done. Katie Wismer, you guys know I talk about her so much. Go support her. I'll leave her in the description box below. Indie author, booktuber, read her shit. Oh, this was the month where I pulled out 3 books out of the intimidating TBR jar. The first one that we have here is Salvaged. I ended up already unhauling that one. I did not read it, and I don't think I want to. So we'll add that to my list of already unhauled books. Up next, we have The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Hot take. I did read this one, and I was disappointed. All right, up next, we have Undercover Bromance by Lisa K. Adams. I did read this one, and I loved it. Then we pulled out of our intimidating TBR jar, and we got a freaking gem of a book, and that is Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. I read it, loved it. It's one of my favorites of the year. Highly recommend. Up next, we have The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. I did read this one and really, really loved it. I think that it's a fantastic environmental, elemental magic fantasy. Highly recommend it. Then we have Set Fire to the Gods. I switched this one out for a different book. I did read it and I enjoyed it. And I will put Set Fire with Fire on the fuzz. Hello? I will put Fire with Fire on my list of books I want to read next year. First book up is Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. I did read this one and enjoyed it. Again, not my favorite PD, but still really good. Then we have the fourth book in the Percy Jackson series. This is Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth. I did read this one and I enjoyed it as a whole. I didn't love the audiobook, but I really enjoyed the book. Then we have a middle grade that I really enjoyed, and that is The In-Between by Rebecca KS or SK. And sorry, I did read this one, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend if you're looking for a spooky kind of middle grade. It was really well done. All right, then we have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I did try to read this. I got about 160 pages in, and I decided to DNF this one. So this one is already off my TBR. Then we have Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Again, one that I read and really, really enjoyed. Oh, we got a bingo. Then we have After Love. I did not read this one. This was a crazy TBR and I didn't get around to this one, but I've heard really good things so far, and it's like a interesting contemporary with a paranormal twist type book, and I do really want to read it, so I'm going to add it to my list of books that I want to read next year. All right, the next one was my last intimidating TBR jar pick, and that was A Winter's Promise. I didn't get to this one, but it's one that I do really want to read. I have a spoken goal that I want to read a book, fantasy book translated, and this one is translated from French, so I do want to read it at some point. I just didn't get around to it this particular month. Then we have You by Caroline Kepnes. This is another one that I have decided to unhaul. I don't read a lot of horror. The TV show actually gave me anxiety, so I don't know why I was trying to put myself through that torture, but I'm not going to read that one, so we're letting that one go as well. Then we have Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, or Aveyard, however you say her name. I did read this one. Again, wasn't my favorite YA fantasy, but I did read it. Look at that stack. Holy shit, that's wild. All right, let's move on to the very last TBR, and I can tell you with certainty that I read almost all of them, so let's do it. And this is the first TBR in the new book room, which is honestly just warms my heart. But like I said, I read almost all of the books as of pre-filming this video on this TBR, so we're gonna run through this very quickly. First one we have is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I read it and was disappointed. Then we have Heartstopper Volume 4, read it and loved it. Then we have The Serpent's Curse by Lisa Maxwell. I finally finished this one and really enjoyed it. Then we have Raven Song by TJ Klune, one of my favorite series, like I said, of all time. Love this book so much. I cannot pick between the two. I don't know which one is my favorite, but it is amazing. Then we have When Night Breaks by Janella Angelis. With all transparency, I am currently reading this book as of right now, but I'm more than halfway through. Definitely going to finish it by the time this video goes live, so yes, I did read it. Then we have Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. I did read this one and really enjoyed it. I will definitely continue on with this series. Then we have Ferris by Marissa Meyer. I read this one and really disliked it, so oof. Ooh, then we had the blindfold. That was fun. Want to do it again. All right, then we have Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did read this one, and again, really enjoyed it. I have enjoyed every single book that I've read by her so far, and I cannot wait to read more. Then we have Fire in His Fingertips. This was a manga that I read relatively quickly in like 20 minutes. I did read it. I don't know if I'll buy any more of the books in the series, but it was okay. All right, and then this one is The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. I actually subbed this book out for a different book that fit that prompt, which was Cece Rios and the Desert of Souls, and I did read that one and really enjoyed it, but I am really looking forward to reading The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan, so I will add that to my list of books to read in 2022. All right, that being said, that was all 12 of my TBRs from the end of 2020 to November of 2021. I am actually quite surprised on how well I did. Of all of those books that I put on TBRs, which was a ton, by the way, I only didn't read 17. Granted, that's not the best number because I would have liked to have read them all, but that's not too bad. Actually, that's more than 17, but 17 that I'm still interested in, and then there are 7 that I have decided to give up on, and then there are 7 that I have DNF'd and or already unhauled at the time of filming this video. So that is not too bad. I will take it. These 17 books that I have on my books that I still want to read list will definitely go onto my top priority shelf for 2022. Hopefully I can get through some of them, if not all of them. That's the hope, although my plans never really work out, do they? But we can always hope, we can try. Let me know down below how you've done on your TBRs if you like to set monthly TBRs. Let me know how you did. If you are a seasonal TBR reader, let me know how you did there. Or if you're a mood reader, let me know some of your favorite books that you have read this year. I would love to know that as well. But that is the end of this video. I hope that you are enjoying the 12 Days of Bookmas. I know it's only day 2 with so many more to come, but I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on the series so far. I love you all very, very much, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. If you did like this video, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and of course leave any comments, questions, suggestions in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.